Hello and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. So, can you guys believe it? I'm realizing now that I didn't get to talk to you guys about last series, so I'm going to do that as well today. But we got a little bit of a longer one, as we are going to be discussing, well, the fact that we're not out yet. We're not going home yet. No, we will not be going home yet. We are playing on borrowed time, on Monopoly money at this point. Maybe not as much for TSM, but at least in our mindset of things. And spoiler alert, we were able to take down the good old people at FlyQuest. Now, and I do say the good old people because I'll be honest with you, I like FlyQuest. I think they're a really cool, interesting group of individuals, and truly even the way that their organization is handled and everything, I think is really awesome. So, craziness. I mean, craziness that we were able to take them down because, like I said, I'm glad I got my prediction right, by the way. I was like, oh, it's either going to be a close 3-2 or we're going to get stomped 3-0. And, I think I ended up, if I remember correctly, like just kind of doubling down on the 3-2 for TSM by the end of it. So, I'm pretty happy that not only my prediction went well, but that we also were able to come out on top. And I want to go over a couple, parts of it. It's been about a week now. I'm actually recording at night. It's been really busy trying to finish out this month. I'll be honest with you guys. And so I am, I'm recording at night instead of in the morning because, well, I'm going to end up working late tonight. So I thought to myself, I got energy right now. I should do this instead of trying to do it half awake in the morning. So you guys get a little more energetic, Rob, today. But, let's look back on this series. So, starting with game one, I absolutely loved our draft. Loved it. I loved getting the Vi early on, then getting the Zeri Yumi, I thought was pretty freaking awesome. I didn't really care about the Sejuani pick all that much. I know she's pretty high prio, at least in North America. I don't fully get it. I don't think she's bad, by the way. I think she's actually pretty good, but that doesn't mean that I really think she should be as picked as high as she has been. So meh on that one. But then, we see the Ari come out. We pick the Lysandra in response. I'm like, yes, Lysandra? Let's go. And then they bring out the Gnar. And I'm like, in all worlds, in my opinion, our team comp was just better. We got exactly what we wanted for basically everybody. We saw Maple come out and, try something kind of new. I don't think we had seen Lysandra this year that I can remember. Maybe once. And I was like, okay, this is great. Game goes on. Things are going well, right? It's a pretty slow game, not too much killing, not too much stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, we break open a tower. We get a whole bunch of kills. We get the last 2 dragons. And we say sayonara in game 1. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is great. Like, the Maple Spica combo was working. Spica played really, really well, by the way. Solo played well. Chime we had talked about this with Yumi. He had been very strong on the Yumi and looked really good here. He hadn't brought it out yet, until playoffs. He had it in Academy, but not in the LCS. So that was really good. Instinct was, I think, fine. I don't think he was great, but he was fine in game 1. So I'm like, okay, this is good, right? We go to game 2. Okay. We're still banning out the Lucian. I don't love that against them, and I feel like we're going to try to do it again, and I still don't love it, but whatever. We basically run it back with the exact same draft, except they took away the Vi. We have the Jarvan instead, and they go a little bit more ham. They bring out the Nautilus for the Engage. They bring out the Trundle to counter any kind of tankiness that we might expect. And they bring out the Camille to get a little bit more aggressive into solo and kind of not put him in a great position. This game was also fairly close up until the 21-minute mark where, it was at a gold lead of like 500-ish up until then. They start pushing it ahead, finishing off their dragons. They basically had the game in the bag at this point. I was happy we got that first blood, but it just didn't feel like we were moving around the map well. It didn't feel like we were doing what we needed to, and I did get a little worried. I was like, man, we just played the same comp, and was the Vi really just that much better? Because Jarvan and Vi are pretty similar. Vi obviously has the automatic lockdown. Jarvan's is a little bit more skill-based, I guess. Not much, but he can't jump at you from as far away as Vi can, and he doesn't follow you, right, regardless of what you do. I'll be honest, like, I was worried. Like, I really was. It felt like, we didn't have an answer. It felt like our bot lane wasn't doing badly, but they just weren't really doing much. And Spica wasn't able to get around the map as well. And I was kind of worried. I was like, oh, okay, like this is not ideal, right? And it was so not ideal that then all of a sudden I go to the bathroom, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, all right, well, what can we do differently here? I guess we can take blue side instead, which we hadn't had yet. I don't believe. Let me make sure that's right. I want to state that. Yeah, we hadn't had blue side yet. We had looked fine on red side, right? And it seemed like we had a good draft strategy for it. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, we can take blue side, but what are we going to do with it, really? Are we going to first pick the Zeri? Are we going to try to get the Vi early? And as I come back, I'm seeing everybody message in the Talking TSM Discord on Twitter, Rob, what do you think of this move? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're in the middle of a game. Like, did they just announce something that I didn't know about or anything? And apparently Tactical was put on the playoff roster, which I think you can have 7 players. I think you can have 2 other players that you can switch in and out. It's generally 6. I know for Worlds it's 6, but Jeremy and I were discussing this on Hot Takes. I couldn't remember if it was one or the other. And they go, yeah, Tactical's coming in. I would like to remind you, I don't believe Tactical had played for us since week 2. Potentially even after week 1, but I'm pretty sure it was after week 2. So, 5 games in, and, he hadn't played in, 13, 14, 15 straight games with the team. And he had looked bad on Academy. Truly. Not good at all. And they bring him in. And I was like, dude, this is it. This is the series. This is it right here, right now. What are they doing? Why would you replace a player who you're trying to get better? I understand winning is important. I really do get it. But it's like, you've committed to him. You've let him play the first 2 games of the series. He didn't look great in game 2, but he looked solid in game 1. And I was just baffled. I thought it was the move that was going to lose us the series. Because I'm like, if they don't win this game, if they do not win game 3, they're going to look very foolish. And then what do you do, right? So we go into game 3. We get the Vi pick. I'm like, okay. They kept saying Draven was coming. I was like, Draven, okay, fine. And they lock in the Pike, and I'm like, interesting. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Very aggressive bot lane, right? You should get prio. You should be able to be, able to do whatever you want, really. I think the Nautilus would have been better, by the way. Just putting that out there. But, regardless, I want him to be able to roam. They go with the Akali and the Gnar. And I look at FlyQuest comp and I look at our comp. And I tell myself, if Tactical doesn't pop off early, we're donezo. It doesn't matter. I mean, who is Akali assassinating? Jose, Johnson, I guess, maybe. Jose Diodo and Takui would be able to lock him down. I mean, even, Philip, not that Philip had picked yet, but I just kept thinking to myself, I was like, dude, this is either going to be the most genius 5-head move of all time, or they're going to look really foolish. 0-10-5 from Spica on the Vi. 1-7-4 from Tactical on the Draven. 0-6-5 from Chime on the Pike. 29 kills to 6. Easily the most lopsided game of the series. I was like, it's over, man. It's over. We're doomed. There is no way. And, I don't know that I saw Chime hit, a single, at least impactful Pike Q. I remember the flash, stun that he tried to pull off and was just a little late. I think it's because they flashed so late into it. But even still, that was just... Solo just kind of sat there and threw boomerangs, didn't get to really do much. And I just... I really, truly, in my heart of hearts, I thought to myself, well, guys, this is it. We made our run. We did what we could. But there's nothing else that we can do. I mean, what else are you supposed to do then? How do you truly... Sorry, I'm having to do something to make sure that my computer doesn't stop recording this video. So give me a second here. But how do you truly come back from that? I mean, just the mental resolve that you'd have to have. And it's not like they'd shown me anything this year that would make me think, oh, they got the resolve to come back from this. It's not like Chawi was the kind of leader that was going to go out and give a grand speech that not that I could tell, at least. He seems like he has confidence and he could lead. It just, I don't know, it felt like he was more of the mind leader, or at least that was the attempt. And they come out in game 4 and they say, all right, Tactical staying in. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I get it, right? Without Zeri, Instinct is very average. Very, very bland and average. With Zeri, he's intriguing. And I would hope that maybe that could, spill into other champions. That's how a lot of new, young players come up, is they're known for 1 or 2 champions. And, you can get banned out pretty easily. So it's a good thing they did think to practice with Tactical, right? Because, in a 1-game series, it doesn't matter. In a best of 5, if your champion for your bot laner is getting banned out all the time, or surprisingly they kept letting us pick it, it was okay, we'll see what happens here. TSM say, F it. We are just going all in, balls to the walls in game 4. With Solo, who could jump in on the Gnar. With Spica, who could jump in and wreak havoc with the Monkey King himself, Wukong. Maple playing his best game of the year with Silas. Oh my God. Maple finally showed me why we brought him in. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I like what I'm seeing here out of Maple. They put Tactical on the scaling Sivir, and I think, okay, he should be safe. He should be fine. He did exactly what we expect him to do. He popped off a little bit late in the game, and that was fine. But then the Chime Rakan. Oh, bless the chime Rakan. Who would have guessed? Um, who would have guessed that they would let that beautiful champion with that beautiful man make it happen? Because I mean, he was just there at every single turn. And, realistically, between games 3 and 4, we didn't change much, and they didn't change much. We banned out the Yumi in our first round of bans. That was the one big change in the first round that I was like, okay, like, we're not going to take Zariyumi. We're not going to let them take Zariyumi. The Vi was open, funny enough. We didn't take it, which I also thought was interesting. Although we talked about this, like, Speak on Wukong is pretty solid. And Maple just played out of his mind. I mean, he was pushing the limit constantly. His one death was pretty terrible and almost cost us the game there for a second. But then we just, wiped him and it didn't matter. But, we played around objectives really well. We moved around the map well. And I'm like, okay, like this is looking good. We head into game 5. I'm like, well, first game of the week, we're getting silver scrapes. Little did I know that we would get mostly silver scrapes throughout the rest of the week. Probably one of the best freaking week/weekends, since it's our Thursday for LCS fans, of League of Legends ever. I want to say ever. How often do we get game? I mean, like, even at the finals, with EG 100 Thieves, like, we didn't get game. Like, that whole weekend of finals, I think we played 10 games. With 3 series. Like, it's not great. Not great entertainment. Like, you want 5 games. Man, did this one deliver. They pushed everybody so far down, but we were able to get the Ornn early. We were able to get the Vi. We did have to give up the Azir and the Poppy, and I was like, oh, I don't love the Azir. Like, I even thought to myself, I'm like, shit. Why are we giving this Poppy? Like, oh, it felt like such a good pick from them, because, we already had, I believe it was Ornn, Rakan, and Vi. Maybe I'd have to go back and look because it doesn't show me on here. I can see our bands in order, but I can't see our picks for some reason. But I know we first picked the Ornn. I'm pretty sure we I think we went Ornn Vi. I think that was like the very beginning. And I think we might have gone Rakan. But, and I'm like, dude, this Poppy pick is, like, huge into us. Because then we pick the Ahri. And I'm like, we have literally 4 dash champions. Or champions that would technically be considered a dash. You've got the Vi Q, the Ornn. Is it E? I want to say E. Pretty sure it's E. Everything for Rakan, everything for Ahri. Obviously, mostly just the ult for Ahri, but still. And then we bring out, because they pushed us down in terms of 80 carries, and we were able to bring out the Xayah. Now, I want you to know that Johnson and Aframu getting the Jinx and the Tahm Kench, we talked about this. This combination was lethal for them, right? I'm pretty sure they went 3-0 on this combination during the regular season. But little did they know that Tactical, after not getting to play all year, after looking terrible in his first game, average in his second game, would say, all right, team, I've remembered how good I am. I've remembered what I can do. And the man just goes off, 11-0-6. 422 freaking CS. Now, this game went a little longer than it should have, right? We had Dragon Soul. We had everything we needed. We did give up a Drake, or a Baron they were able to steal. And Spica did have a couple, interesting plays throughout this one. Ornn didn't get a solo kill like I'd hoped. Or Solo didn't get a solo kill on Ornn like I'd hoped. But, I mean, we just frankly obliterated them almost the whole game. Like, again, we made it a little close at one point. But holy moly, this series was like, I was like, okay, we're in for one. Like, this team wants it, okay? And, I'll give them credit where credit is due. I truly didn't expect us to get past the first round. Now, I said if we go to Worlds, obviously, I will dye my hair purple. So we're going to know by the end of the week if I'm dyeing my hair before I go to Chicago, okay? I hope if any of you are going to be in Chicago, by the way, for the LCS finals, I will be there. So let me know. Hit me up in the Twitter sections, and I will, or in the comment sections, either one. I'll make sure to, get to you. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I really, truly could not believe it. It felt like all year we had suffered. I mean, guys, let's not forget, we won 6 games, all split long. We won 5 games before that. We won 1 game during the lock-in. We went a total of, what was it? It's like 12 and, sorry, let me get my math here. 25. I think it's like 12 and 30 or something like that this year. Okay? That's horrible. I mean, that's truly awful. Something close to that. It might have been 12 and 29. And we won 3 games against a pretty solid team. Yes, a team on the decline. I understand that. Everybody's going to try to take this away from us. They weren't playing well. They looked so bad in the last few weeks. Blah, 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 blah. They were still better than us. They won 4 more games than us. They went 10-8 and went 3-0 and beat us in the last week of the split. Okay? And they also took a game off of TL, a very convincing one. We focused on us. Our bans weren't anything overly surprising to me. I'm just going to be honest with you. All right? I just don't think they were anything super targeted, overly special. Felt like it was more about us being able to play champions that we wanted to play and not giving them super OP picks. And it was just awesome to see this team's resilience, to see Tactical come out and play with confidence in that third game, and a little bit in the second game too. I mean, can you imagine his mental? Can we even imagine his mental after that first game that he comes in? 1-7. He looked terrible. He's probably like, oh God, TSM Reddit, TSM fans are going to be all over me. Nope. Not this time. Instead, he just got back up on his horse and did his job. And as much crap as I've given him, as much crap as everybody else has given him, we should be thanking him. I hope that if for some reason he ever watches or hears about this, one of those TSM members that I know you guys are watching this, we let him know just how impressed and how just thankful I am that he had the maturity to come back from that and to just play. I thought he was mentally boomed. I thought he was done. Done. I really thought this was... I thought a team was going to take a chance on him in Academy and that he wouldn't be able to make it, he wouldn't crack it, and then he'd be done. This game, this Xayah game, and especially if he can come out and play well against Evil Geniuses, who we'll talk about here in a minute, not win, but play well, may have saved his career. And I am not joking. There are a lot of good young 80 carries coming up. Okay? Lot of good ones. A lot of good prospects in that regard for the LCS. Just to name a couple, Yon, Kaori, Wixie, right? I know I'm missing some. Please don't flame me, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Array, one of them as well. I know there are more, a lot more, but still. There are young 80 carries, all coming up, all wanting a spot in the LCS all been working really hard to have their chance. Even Instinct, truly, he's still very young and still has a lot of room to grow. And Tactical came in and was just, he did his job. And then he popped off after doing his job. That is such an incredible thing for him. And I hope an uplifting moment. I hope a thing that he can look back on his career. And I hope 5-10 years down the road after he's helped, hopefully us, win a championship at some point. And, I don't know, refound his great self, his greater self that we know was there. That he can look back on this game. Even if he fails against Evil Geniuses. Because I think we're going to start him, by the way. I would be very surprised at this point if Instinct was playing. Because, listen, this team is valuing winning. They want to go to Worlds still. They want to go deeper into the playoffs. The only way to do that is to win. Does this version of Tactical give us a better chance to win? Probably. At least now. Does Instinct getting experience and probably unfortunately getting his ass handed to him by Danny help us win? No. But does it make him better and allow him to potentially start for us next year? Maybe, honestly. But you guys know how I feel about prospects. Like I want us to take a look at that. But I think when we do our video series that I'll be doing on the different potential picks and stuff for the LCS and specifically for Maple and or not Maple, God, TSM and everybody else, and my theories on who we could keep, all that jazz, which may start next week. We'll have to see. Whenever that happens, like. We just won't know. And, I'm glad that they're at least playing to try to win. I mean, hell, they are 2 series away right now from going to Worlds. That is not something I ever thought that I would say. Never once in 2022. Not one time. Literally never. My hope was finish 4th or 5th in spring, maybe push for a world spot in the summer if everything went right. Nothing has gone right for this team. Absolutely nothing. And yet, we are currently a top 6 team in the LCS at the end of the summer. Top 6. There are only 6 teams left, and we are one of them. Shocking. That's where I thought I'd hoped that we would be. I thought it was going to be a little easier to get here. But hey, we're here. So let's then talk about this Evil Geniuses team. Now, the fact that I'm going to just be straight up honest with you, I would have done a heck of a lot more research and everything else if it was Cloud9. And not to be a complete Debbie Downer on us, but I do not see us winning this series. Straight up, just don't see it. I tweeted it out even before making this. I've been hearing that Evil Geniuses are playing very pissed off and that scrims are going extraordinarily well for them right now. The opposite of what had been happening to them the week before. Now, you can always take scrim bucks with a grain of salt. Okay? They could absolutely stomp through everybody during scrims and then get their asses handed to them on the stage. Okay? But I have watched a few different things on this series. I've rewatched their games, specifically the highlights, okay? Because I wanted to remind myself of this series. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, I think Evil Geniuses just had a really bad day. I mean, an incredibly, unfortunately bad day. And, it's tough because obviously, how do you, how and what do you do with something so ambiguous, open-ended, just not something you can quantify in numbers or stats as just a bad day, right? Like, what does that really mean? And what it means to me is if you rewatch these games, you'll see a team that was just known for their ability to team fight, right? Their ability to work together in the scrimmages of the jungle, right? Being able to take fights at whim, being able to come back because of how much they trust each other and how well they were able to be in sync in the late game, right? Understanding their objectives. Everything that this team has been good at since their playoff run started to their first ever championship and to their first ever MSI appearance and to their first place finish during the playoffs. Now, there's a big difference between them and our first place last year. Our first place last year felt like we played very safe. We didn't take many risks. Not that we weren't a good team last year. I think we should have probably gone to Worlds. But, you know, I never felt like we were like the best team. It always felt like, yes, we are winning games, but I don't know that we're the best team. And we weren't. We just weren't last year, which is sad, but we weren't. This Evil Geniuses team, since the second they made their lower bracket run to win their first title, has been by far and away one of my favorite teams I've ever watched. And I've watched every one of their games, and never once have I doubted whether or not this team was talented. And I know this is a Talking TSM show, guys. I really do understand that. I also do want us to win, obviously. But I also want NA to represent well in North America for Worlds. And I would love to see us. I truly, if there was any other team than Evil Geniuses down here, like, I would be pulling for us so unbelievably hard, but my heart is torn, and I wasn't going to lie to you guys on this one, because I do think that Evil Geniuses, of the four teams, would be the best representative for North America and for the LCS's future. And I care about the LCS's future because I still think we're going to be a part of it. Now, obviously, if TSM leaves one day, then we'll keep doing this show. I'm still going to support NA over any other region. I'll still support TSM wherever they go. We'll say if they go to the LPL, it's going to be really hard for me to watch. I don't think that's going to happen, but, you know, if they were to at some point for some reason, it would be really hard for me to keep up with all their games, but I'd find a way, and I'd keep bringing you content. I'm never giving up on this team, unless they do something really bad, but, you know, I don't know what that quantifies as. Even that is still tough to say, but I wanted you guys to know my admiration for this Evil Geniuses team. And I'm not picking us to win. Right? I am picking Evil Geniuses to win, but I'm not doing it because I really do think, like, I want Evil Geniuses to make Worlds. I do very badly. I also would really love for us to make Worlds. But if any of you out there can truly tell me that when you look at this team, that they would not get absolutely just shellacked at Worlds were we to make it. If you can tell me that with a serious face, then good for you. You might be a better fan than me. Because I don't want another embarrassment either. Like, I can't have us make this lower bracket run, you know, and then next thing you know, we're at Worlds and we go 0-6 and we get absolutely just slaughtered. Just manhandled, truly. I would just be devastated. Like, I'd rather us lose in a good series, a well-fought series, to the team that I believe is the best in the league right now, and a team that I hope that we will emulate how we build our roster next year. And I know that sounds so bad. I know a lot of you are probably going to hate me for it. But let's be honest. Let's truly look into this. So in game 1, Evil Geniuses, they get good picks. They get the Ornn, the Sivir, the Yuumi, and the Azir. But it's the Hecarim that really does them in. It's just not a good enough pick. Right? You rewatch this game, that weird Herald fight that they should have never taken. They take it. They're completely out of sync with the Yuumi using her ultimate on the Hecarim. Very weird plays. Even with their movements around the map, their confidence in their lane assignments against Cloud9, like, it felt like they were playing like their older brothers or their older siblings of some type, and the older sibling is 10 years older than them, and they're just afraid of they're, even though they're skilled, like, I don't know, 15-year-old basketball player or something, right? Their 25-year-old brother or sister. This is such a weird analogy, but like their 25-year-old sibling of, I don't know, whatever they play is, about the same height as them now, but they've got that more experience or something, and they're just scared because they don't think they can take them on. And it was just like, so everything that they've learned, as good as they've gotten, as hard as they have trained, right? Their Naruto training montages and, whatever, like, it doesn't matter because they just looked completely disjointed. They just looked like nobody could, like, how could you have predicted that? I mean, one person Jat was like the only person that I'd seen picking Cloud9 at all. I was tempted to give 3-1 to Evil Geniuses, but I was like, you know what? Cloud9 are better than that. They can, and they can go like 3-1. And Cloud9 had also just barely beaten CLG. I was like, man, this will be an easy series for the best team. And they just couldn't figure it out. I mean, it was crazy to me. I mean, even their second round of picks and bans, I mean, they have a better team outside of the weird Ezreal pick that I don't know why they didn't pick like Jinx or something, honestly. But, whatever it was, like, they felt like that was going to be a good pick. I mean, like, let's be real. What is an Ezreal supposed to do into an Aphelios, a LeBlanc, a Fiora, and a Wukong? Who is he supposed to chunk down? Even the support, right? And the Renata. Who is he supposed to chunk down in that? Nobody. Nothing. His Divine Sunderer is not nearly as good. It's still fine, but it's not as good, and it's a lot harder to hit those Qs. Like, it's just a really weird pick overall for them, considering just the many. I mean, hell, Misfortune, Caitlyn, anything would have been better. Even a Jhin, as bad as he is with a Yuumi, would have been better than an Ezreal in this situation. Very weird picks, too. The one game they win, they bring out the Seraphine Senna pick. That just seems to be a real popular way to try to bring yourself back into series. TL used it, too. I noticed. But it didn't matter. It did not matter. Jensen brings out the Zillion just to, bop him on the head a little bit more. It's crazy. The one pick I will say that we should be probably looking at is Renata Glask. Now, I don't think Chime has really played her, at least for us. Well, she's only been out since basically he's been with us. So, yeah, he hasn't really played her. I hope he's been practicing her, because the one thing that I really like about the Renata specifically into Evil Geniuses is the fact, and I think they're going to probably ban Rakan at some point early on. I would be shocked if it wasn't through the first round of bans, at least in the first game. But Renata is very good into teams that like to skirmish heavy, that like dive comps, that love to get in your face. Such a great disengage tool, and a champion that I think Chime could very much use to his advantage to give us, I think, a fighting chance. Like, I am going to pick this 3-1 in favor of Evil Geniuses. I think we're going to fight them really well. I think on Hot Takes I had said 3-0, but that might have just been my hot take. I don't know. I've thought about it more, and I do think like it's going to be on, to me, it's going to be whether or not Spica and Chime can really be in sync, because I think Maple and Solo can at least stay even, and Tactical, as long as he doesn't completely int, isn't going to lose us the game. But it's going to have to depend on if Spica can outbrain Inspired. Now, Inspired looked very beatable, very tilted in this series. I mean, it was really the first time that they were challenged in like, in a way that they maybe weren't expecting in like 6 months, which is crazy to think about. And there's people are like, oh, but you can push Danny down. Oh, you can do this, that, or the other thing. Like, guys, I'm just going to tell you, we're not going to be able to beat them in picks and bans, realistically. And when you look at, like, the individual players, like, Inspire's one of the only junglers I would definitely pick over Spica. Jojo Pune is definitely better than Maple. Like I said, I think Maple and Solo, while not better than either of their opponents, they can at least stay even. But when it comes to the rest of it, I don't know that it matters. Danny is definitely better than Tactical or Instinct, whoever plays. And Vulcan's definitely better than Chime. Now, the one thing I will say is I think Mark Z pointed this out on the Blame game, which I never really watched, but I did want to get maybe his perspective on Evil Geniuses specifically and why they might have lost. I do think putting Vulcan, like allowing the Yuumi through and putting Vulcan on champions that he can't have as much of an impact on is actually a pretty good idea. I think TSM could keep them in the trap of feeling like they need to pick the Yuumi because it's available. I don't think we should ban it. I think we should leave Yuumi open. I think, honestly, if anything, and we're that scared, I think we get rid of the Sivir, and I think we get rid of the Zeri and let them just pick the Yuumi for something else. That could be a very interesting way. Danny didn't look nearly as comfortable with the Yuumi on him on something other than a Sivir or a Zeri. I would like that. Personally, I think that'd be really good. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Twitch pick. Not that I don't know if Tactical plays it. I know Instinct doesn't. But those could be very interesting picks as well. I think for the jungle, we're just going to have to go toe-to-toe with Engage. I think Vi is going to be a huge pick. I think Wukong is going to be a really big pick. I think those two are the big ones for us. I would love to see us pull out a Trundle or an Olaf or something like that at some point. I don't think Olaf's really in the meta, but I will say that Blabber made it look really good. He's also like one of the best Olafs ever, at least in the LCS. So, yeah, I mean, it's really unfun to pick against TSM, especially when you want the other team to do really well and to represent our region well and to represent us by proxy well. And it's really hard to pick against us when I just don't have much confidence in us. If we were to make it to Worlds, it would almost feel like an accident, like the other teams just didn't play well and that we just played well enough. And that sounds really terrible. And it's not. I don't mean that to put down the boys. Like I think that they have really all fought really hard to get here at this point in the season. And so that's why I wanted to give you my other reasonings, was because I could easily just have said we're just not better than them or something like that. But I really do think they had a bad day. I think it's really hard to pick against them on a regular basis. I think they're also going to have a fire lit under them after that C9 series, man. I just, this team playing pissed off and knowing that they should be at Worlds right now and they're not is... I think they're going to be on a warpath, and I think we're unfortunately the first team in front of them, and I want us to play them hard. I want us to play them well, but their talent level, their cohesion as well, Tactical's just coming back. This might be his week and a half, second week of practice with the main team. maybe third week, I guess, technically, depending on, I don't know what happened after the beginning of this, or after the season ended. I don't know, but all I know is that, they have the advantage in every possible way right now. They should, at least. I think the only way we do it is we play our underdog card as hard as we can, and we capitalize on their mistakes, and we try to get them to int. That's the way I think that we can do it, because you saw with C9, by game 3, this team was tilted. This Evil Geniuses team felt completely out of sync the whole series. And so, the hope is going to be that if we can tilt them and we can take them out, that's how we win. That is how we win. And if we win, I expect us to be playing Team Liquid. If for some reason we're playing CLG for a chance to go to Worlds, oh my God. I will make a second episode, by the way, should we win this series this week. I will make it, I guess I'd have to make it Friday night or Saturday morning. I don't know which one yet, but expect another episode should we be able to take down Evil Geniuses. But again, right now I'm predicting no, but there is a world where we beat them. I don't know how many times out of 10. It doesn't feel very likely out of 10, but there's a world where we can take them down. It's just going to be up to us whether or not we, I think, grind it out, and whether or not we really decide, find some good strategy in the picks and bans, find a weakness that was exposed during the Cloud9 game, more so than just them having a bad day. I think there are opportunities. I think if you push down Inspired maybe a little bit, I think if you push down Danny a little bit, there's a world where you can take advantage. Impact hasn't looked great either. I mean, Fudge took him to town. I just don't know that I would love seeing solo on picks like Fiora. That just seems too risky. If we want a chance to win, I think you got to put him on the Orns, the Aatroxes, anything tanky, really. Even a Gragas tank wouldn't be too bad. So, I don't know, guys. We're going to have to see. I'm going to be just like I was when we made playoffs. I will be happy. For some reason, I still don't feel like we deserve it. Not because of the players, but just because of everything that has happened this split. This team, I will tell you, to end it on a super positive note, though, and to remind everybody that I am a TSM fan. Not only has this team exceeded expectations, I think we have really laid the groundwork for a team that's going to get better in the future. I really, truly believe that we could build around Spica and Chime, maybe Maple, and have a very good team with a couple of good signings for next year in the top lane and at AD carry. There are rumors out there of things that are happening. Nothing is set in stone yet. There's one rumor that I am particularly intrigued by, that I think whenever we were to lose, I think it would be announced probably a little bit afterwards, but I think I might, not me, I think myself, or as you guys have seen, LCS Eevee has signed on with us for the off season. Realistically, he's been with us like throughout the year, but officially now for the off season, I think we've got something very interesting that may happen soon after TSM have lost. So make sure you're keeping an eye out on that. Okay. All right. Let's go TSM. I do love this team. I've specifically really, really, really enjoyed Chime. I think he is a huge boon to this team, and we would be ridiculous to get rid of him unless if there was just a huge upgrade. And a very sure upgrade, by the way. And I will tell you, you know what? I'm going to put this out there too. If we win, I think he's going to be the MVP, and the reason why. I think that means they either gave him Rakan too much, or he figured out a really good way to play Renata Glask. That's where I think it happens. All right. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Quick little spoiler hint thing. I'm working on stuff to make sure that we've got some great off-season content. Not only for this, but I think moving forward, we're going to have some bigger things coming to the channel as well. So make sure that you're, subscribed so that you know what's coming. Also, I want to continue to make this the number one TSM podcast out there. Still potentially the only TSM LCS podcast, but hey, you know what? We got to try to keep that top spot. One of one is still number one. So we're going to try to keep that. Share this with your friends. You can hit me up on Twitter at TGH Robert Haynes, or check out the Gamehouse's Twitter at TGH Esports for announcements like things like, bringing on Eevee, LCS Eevee. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. We will have pieces and a whole bunch of other stuff there for you to enjoy. With that, thank you for tuning in. It has been a fun 2022, and I hope that it continues for TSM. And I know that it will continue for us because, hey, the offseason's still just as fun, and I've got some interesting things planned for it, so keep an eye out for it. As a reminder, this show will come out during the off-season / during the playoffs every Thursday, and it's exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See y'all next week. Or maybe this weekend. Let's go TSM.